All right, so I was telling you. So as far as what we're gonna do today, you got a topic that you've been working on for a little while, or no, I guess for a long time. I guess maybe our whole lives. That's kind of one of the things that got me into politics. I remember growing up, not even knowing nothing about government and stuff like that, but always hearing about JFK and my parents and my brothers talking about it and them telling me, oh, the government killed him. And so always knowing since I was a young kid, always having a healthy mistrust of the government, you know what I mean, that they're capable of doing these types of things. And so to yesterday I was listening to Tim Pool. Oh no, I'm sorry. Not it was him. It was Charlie Kirk. Sorry, Charlie Kirk had General Mike Flynn on, and I guess he's promoting a documentary that he released, talking about his story and basically what everything that's going on right now. How it kind of started with him, like that basically Obama didn't want him. He recommended. I don't know if you ever heard the story that Obama, when Trump went into the White House, he asked Obama, "What advice can you give me?" And that Obama gave him two pieces of advice. He told him to watch out for North Korea, to not trust them, and don't hire Mike Flynn. Don't don't put Mike Flynn in your administration. And obviously Trump didn't listen to either one. And so Mike Flynn was on, and he was talking about a bunch of stuff about documentary, but he mentions how he thinks he has a I guess a segment in his documentary about JFK, and he says how important that is. Basically, that it's kind of where everything started, and he emphasized that. And basically, he says, if they could do that to the president, which is different times. I think it was a lot easier back then, but obviously they got away with it after all. Nobody could figure it out, and so he kind of he made a big emphasis on that the JFK story is kind of where the deep state really starts, and it's brought us all the way up until now. So as far as what you got, bro, you've been working on a theory that we both talked about that they don't really bring up that much. So if you want to kind of talk about what you've been working on.
Hey, you pick up put JFK photos up.
Yeah. All right.
The
Hey, that.
CIA don't like that.
Yeah. No shit, man. They're onto us. They're onto us quick.
All right, so from the beginning, there's two pictures you're going to see that are one's in Tampa Bay with the Secret Service and one's in Dallas with the Secret Service. The first one is the normal way every time that JFK's motorcade security was conducted, and you have two Secret Service agents riding on the back of the limo, holding onto the step, or standing on the step and holding onto the handles. And if they were there, if they were in that position in Dallas, then someone from the building wouldn't have a clear target. They would be in the way. So if you look at the other picture at Love Field in Dallas, 40 minutes prior to him being murdered, the lead Secret Service agent in the follow-up car tells the Secret Service agents on the back of the limo that they don't need them. And you can see the Secret Service agent is confused with his body language. He's holding his arms out in a
Yeah.
very overt show of confusion.
Yeah.
According to one of the Secret Service agents that was there, he stated that
It was almost
that Secret
defiantly.
Service agent knew. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's very, very confused.
Yeah.
And
He
they
seems really
said that,
bothered.
he was just there for a photo op.
Mm-hmm.
So so they say he's just there for a photo op, and he knew that. Well, if he knew that, why would he be confused? On top of that, why would you bring him to Dallas if he's not going to be security for the president? And why would that be the only time that someone is not on the back of that limo? And that's the only, and that's the time he gets murdered. So
Yeah.
clearly the Secret Service cleared the scene, cleared the shot, took his security away prior to his assassination, 40 minutes prior. So there's no time for anyone to react. On top of that, and every other motorcade, they had motorcycle police riding along the side of the limo. And they were mostly for crowd control. But once again, if they're there, they're obstacles to the shot. They are in the way. So they pulled them back. If you watch the Dallas, the Love Field and the Zapruder film, the motorcycle cops are back. There's no one on the back of the car. The shot is wide open. The
Yeah.
president is exposed, and that was by the orders of the lead Secret Service agent. Now, the lead Secret Service agent can't really make that call on his own because he will get caught by the CIA, FBI. They're going to investigate, which means that it has to be somebody that can order the Secret Service to stand down. And you're really looking at director of the CIA, director of the FBI, and the White House.
Yeah.
They really all had to be involved because if they weren't, they would have figured this out almost immediately. Why in the hell did you change the security on the president's limo and then he gets murdered? Why would you do that, right? But they never said anything like that because it was all part of a government conspiracy to overthrow the United States government covertly
Yeah.
and take power. So you have that pretty clearly defined. And like I said, people go down rabbit holes of all these different suspects and ideas. And the mafia can't order the Secret Service to stand down. The Russians can't order the Secret Service to stand down. The Cubans can't do it. Oswald couldn't do it. Now, I'm not saying Oswald wasn't involved. I'm certain he was, but he wasn't the only one, more than likely. However, that's another rabbit hole. It doesn't really matter how many shooters there were, one shooter, multiple shooters, etc. We know the mafia, the Cubans, and the Russians were not involved. The United States government ordered his security to stand down prior to his execution 40 minutes later. So
Yeah.
it's very clear they did that. And that leads us to today. So since then, once they seize power, they've maintained power. And you have that going on now. And that's why you have this issue with Trump. They didn't take Trump seriously. They didn't think he. And other than Reagan, who they tried to kill, that's probably the first president, the only other president who wasn't deep state. And that's why they're going after him so hard. So
Yeah.
if you want to know why we're where we are, you got to understand where it began. And it began in 1963 in Dallas when the Secret Service, probably by orders of the CIA, FBI, and LBJ, the vice president,
Yeah.
ordered his execution, and they overthrew the government. And they and their descendants have maintained this power since then. And
Yeah.
that's why we're in this situation. It's not a complicated thing. People make this very complicated, and it's not.
Yeah. It's definitely still to this day probably the most shocking event in U.S. history. That we could see anytime. Obviously maybe Abraham Lincoln probably up there too, but JFK, just the way he died, and just the way just how graphic it is, it's just that sticks with you. You don't forget stuff like that. But in regards to you talking about the the Secret Service agent to take being pulled off, I was wondering if that might explain what your other theory is, where the fatal shot came from. If he had been there, he might have seen. Because how many shots were there total?
There was at least three, possibly more. A lot of people think four. Some people think more or less, but it's either three or four, I would say. And and one bullet is supposed to have hit Kennedy and Governor Conley at the gone through Kennedy, through his back, through his neck, and then hit Conley multiple places. And they say that's one bullet. And the reason they do that is because the first two shots you have a, and then there was a pause of uh, about 5 seconds, I believe, and then the headshot. So the first two shots couldn't be by a bolt action rifle. You have two shooters shooting almost simultaneously, and that's what I believe happened. Is you have probably two shooters on the one on the roof and one and Oswald shooting, but Oswald doesn't realize he's the patsy. He's in on it, but he doesn't realize they're going to make him take the fall. He thinks he's part of this whole thing and everything's good. And you can see JFK reacts, Conley turns around, then Conley reacts. So there's a forensic lab who does 3D modeling currently for law enforcement, and they did the 3D model on this, and Conley had one bullet, and like I said, the reactions, it's not possible. So you probably have two shooters there. Oswald thinking he's probably the only shooter. Somebody else shoots that almost simultaneously, but the job's not done. They're not sure if he's dead. right? They've hit him, but they don't know how bad. So you have another shooter either behind the grassy knoll fence where people heard the shots coming from or a shot, or what I believe is the person's in the manhole, which is a fantastic bunker type place to be. The shot is good. You have him from the chest up, and you have a completely concealed position and a way to escape without anybody even thinking about it. And the reason I think that the people behind the grassy knoll think it came from there is because there's a storm drain right there. And if you're shooting from a manhole, the sound waves are going to take the path of least resistance, and the sound is going to pop out behind the grassy knoll, which makes sense. However, there could have been shooters behind the grassy knoll too, but the whoever took the second shot, wherever they were, one of those two places, more than likely, almost certainly, only did it because they weren't positive that the president was dead. So they took a shot to make sure the job was done.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's what I think happened there. But to me, it's not so important of who took shots and where they came from. What's important is who gave the order.
Yeah.
And the Secret Service, we can clearly say the head of the Secret Service on that day cleared the shot. He took his security off. So one person, and like I said, he couldn't really act alone. And so you have Hoover, the director of the CIA, and I think it's Holmes. I mean, Holmes, the director of the CIA, Hoover, the director of the FBI, and LBJ, and they probably all were aware of this. Who came up with the plan? I'm not sure of out of them, but one of those did, and they agreed on it because
From
the Secret Service would get caught. So, um,
from what you've been researching,
yeah, go ahead.
do you know where what the chain of command, how it goes up from the Secret Service? Have you ever seen anything like that? Like where names and stuff like that?
Well, I mean, we can just put it down. I mean, I don't know exactly that. I haven't actually looked at that because I don't know that that's really that important because the important part is that you got the CIA and the FBI, which are the federal investigative agencies that are going to investigate this, right? So if the Secret Service orchestrated a hit on the president of the United States and they pulled off the security, the Secret Service agents 40 minutes to figure that out. So they had to be in charge. They had to be involved in this, and so you got the Secret Service doing that. Then the CIA, FBI, and the president or vice president have to know this, have to be involved in this, because if not, they're going to find out. So who's their immediate superior? I believe that's who it is. I'm not positive, but they work for the Department of Treasury because they also do counterfeit money with the Secret Service. So,
Yeah.
um, that's really the only people that could order the Secret Service to do that. And I'm not saying the whole Secret Service did it, but the head of the Secret Service, we can clearly identify the Secret Service agent that pulled them off. His name's on the picture. So he was definitely aware and involved. And who could make him do that or get him to do that? Only the CIA, FBI, and vice president would be able to get that done. Nobody else would have that authority that I know of.
Well, I mean, I guess I just feel the chain of command might explain a lot more because, yeah, it could be the head of the CIA, the FBI, but there has to be a way for it to trickle down. I doubt they want a lot of people to know about this, so they want the clearest path. They want the clearest path to that order to pull off that one Secret Service agent. So who could be the go between the guy that pulled off the Secret Service agent and the guy that knows that the president's going to get killed? Is there anybody, or would it just be literally
Well,
Hoover?
I would say you nailed it. Like you need the least amount of people as possible. So the Secret Service agent, the supervising Secret Service agent, he had to be in on it because he's going to actually pull the security off, right? That's going to be his job. So there's one who has to be in on it. Now, who can get him to do that? Well, like I said, the CIA and FBI, if he did that alone, if it was the Secret Service that did this, really they don't have any motive to do it, as well as if they did do it, these are the investigative agencies at the top of government who are going to investigate, and they're going to find out. So you would have the CIA director, the FBI director, and the vice president. All these people would be able to figure this out with their investigation. So those four, I would say, have to know. And you're right, they want to limit it to as many as possible. So it might just be those four. There's probably other people that knew, but I couldn't make that call. But those four had to know, because if they didn't know that the Secret Service was doing that, they would find out right away. And then you have the government doing the Warren Commission. They say their conclusion is that you have a lone shooter who's just a nut and a loner, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then on the other hand, they say, well, we can't release all the documentation we have, and they still have some. They've released some, but they still have some because of national security concerns. Well, if it's a lone shooter, how could that possibly affect national security? So they tell you they're lying to you right off the bat. And that's the funny thing to me, is all this information's been out there for so long, and it's very simple when you just look at the facts. You know, the Secret Service pulled him off. The CIA, FBI directors. So I'm not talking about everybody in these agencies and the vice president. So it's pretty clear that's what happened, right? Why would you pull the security off of a presidential detail
Yeah. It's
at
just
the airport?
it's too much of a coincidence. Even if it was
It's not a coincidence.
even if it was a mistake, I'm saying, I mean, obviously it was purposely done for something, for something major.
Yeah, it was done to kill the president and to take power. Because, and I think the biggest reason why, now the CIA and the vice president have and the FBI have clear motives, but especially the CIA and the vice president, because
Yeah.
the vice president wants to be president.
Yeah.
He's not a good guy, and no one's going to elect him. He's basically, I'll just say in French, he's an asshole, and
Yeah.
everybody knew it. This guy, piece of crap. He was dirty and mean.
Yeah.
The CIA, the CIA wanted to the Bay of Pigs. They were pissed off at Kennedy for not backing them in the Bay of Pigs. The Cuban Missile Crisis, they thought he was soft on the communists. They wanted to attack Cuba when the missiles were there. You had Vietnam going. He was going to withdraw all American
Yeah.
forces from Vietnam
I,
after his election, because he knew if he did it before, he might not get reelected. So the CIA, basically in their mind, their justification is, look, this guy's going to get us all killed. He's too soft on these communists, and they're going to kill us.
yeah.
Right. So this is, I think, what their justification was. It's what's good for the country. And these people don't have any morals, and they are not interested in any of that. So they just do whatever they want, that they believe is what's best for them and best for the country. And once they did that, and they were successful and they overthrew the government, they seized power, and they've maintained it since. These people are not elected, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So they stay in power for their life, unless something happens, they resign, they get whatever in trouble with the law. But really, who's going to arrest them? So, and then once they pass on, the torch is passed, and the agency's corrupted, and they just maintain this power. And they've done that to this day, and that's why they're going after Trump so hard. They're trying to assassinate him. They can't do it physically, so they're trying to do it financially, assassinate his character,
Yeah.
in every way they possibly can. They're
Yeah.
trying to get him, and it's sort of the same scenario as JFK. And then on top, like with JFK, he gets assassinated. The Secret Service pulls off his security. He gets assassinated in broad daylight, gets his head blown off. 2 days later, the guy who assassinated him is assassinated inside a police station, in police custody, with police all around him.
Yeah.
4 years later, his brother is running for president and is probably going to win. At the last minute, they change his exit plan out of the hotel in LA, and he gets assassinated. So it's impossible that the Secret Service is this bad at their job. His brother got his head blown off in broad daylight, and you can't even protect him.
Yeah.
And if he becomes president, he's going to have access to all these files that they've been withholding. They can't allow that. So you have Kennedy after Kennedy being assassinated, the assassin being assassinated. I mean, it doesn't, these are all circumstantial theories, but the Secret Service pulling off his security is not circumstantial. It's proof. You can watch it for yourself. There's a video at Love Field in Dallas. All you have to do is look up Secret Service agents being pulled off JFK motorcade at Love Field prior to the shooting. and you'll see the video of the guy. The car's literally moving, and they're walking along with it. And when the car picks up speed, they'll ride along. They have no idea they're not going.
Yeah.
Then the service tells him to stand down, and then their explanation is he was just there for a photo op. It's complete nonsense. It's factual that they cleared the shot. If that guy's on the back of the car, Oswald and whoever else is shooting from behind cannot, or they'll have a much more difficult time hitting him. He's in the way.
Yeah.
So this is where the government sees power. Governments maintain that power, and to this day, and this is why we're in the mess we're in.
But that's to me, that's just what's so frustrating about that video, seeing that Secret Service agent being pulled off. Is you see it right there. You see the plan begin right there. So, and you see
Right.
people, you actually see people making the orders. So how is it all this time, the JFK movie, Oliver Stone, he even did like a follow-up documentary, almost like a sequel to JFK. And I haven't watched that one, so I don't know if he brings it up, but I've never seen documentaries about that video, about that Secret Service agent being pulled off. Even if they do mention it, nobody traced it upward the way I'm suggesting. Like, who told that lead Secret Service agent to make that call? Who was his superior, and then who was his superior? Like, who made that call? Like, why has nobody chased that? Like that rabbit hole. You know what I mean?
I mean,
That's
if anybody else other than the FBI director, the CIA director, and the vice president didn't make that call, if it's the mafia got them to do it, the Russians got them to do it, the Cubans got them to do it, guess who's investigating it? The CIA, FBI, and vice president. And they're going to figure it out, and they're going to tell you, right? Because they weren't involved. The
yeah,
only reason for them not to investigate this, what I'm talking about, is because they were involved. And people get caught up in the Zapruder film, and they released that, but they held on to it for 12 years. Then they released it because I think people were investigating this more and more, and they wanted to give people a distraction. And so people just when they think about JFK or they look into it, they go to the Zapruder film. Where did the shots come from? Well, he gets hit in the head. Is it from behind? Is it from the front? Is it one shooter? Is it
it's
multiple shooters?
ridiculous.
Is there right? And that's a distraction. But the evidence isn't there. It's at the airport. You see them pull his security off at the airport. That's a fact,
Yeah,
right? The
yeah,
Zapruder film is more ambiguous. The airport is completely unambiguous.
yeah.
So you can see exactly what they did right before he gets murdered. I mean, I don't know, and I think that's why people haven't really gotten onto this, like I am, is because they're so focused on the Zapruder film and all these different rabbit holes that people want to go down, talking about different suspects. What about the Umbrella Man? What about Dorothy Killigan? And on and on. But and I was in that category as well, because I've been looking at this for probably 30 years off and on. But I've done hundreds of hours of research on this, and I've gone through every theory. And then at one point, I just so happened to happenstance on to the video at the airport. And once I saw that video, the limo's leaving the airport and the agents are pulled off as it's moving. And then the agent throws up his arms in confusion, clear body language saying, "What are we doing? What's happening?" Right?
Yeah,
Once
yeah,
I saw that, that is a smoking gun. You know now that the Secret Service was involved, without a doubt. And I
yeah,
don't know how anybody can read that differently. So if they're involved, they can't get away with it without the higher up of government being involved, because they will figure it out. It's on video. It's super easy to figure this out,
yeah,
right? And they're aware of it. So they would have figured it out. And the only people that could really order the Secret Service to do that would be the CIA, FBI, and the vice president. And I don't think the vice president made the order. I think it's the CIA, but the vice president was on board and the director of the FBI was on board. They're all corrupt. The vice president becomes president. He benefited. The CIA maintains power, is able to escalate the war in Southeast Asia and Vietnam and get what they want, because they're all pissed off about communism, which I'm not opposed to that, but they go way too far with it. And the FBI director, he's just corrupt. So I wouldn't have any problem with. I don't know that he has a motive, but he
Hoover.
definitely yeah, he definitely would get on board with it because he's a yes man to
Yeah,
these sorts of things. So that's what happened, and it's really clear in two pictures. Two pictures.
yeah,
4 days before, he has full security. 4 days later, his security is pulled off and he's murdered. Not only are they pulled off in Tampa Bay and all his other ones, whenever he did motorcades through cities, they went in every building, searched them, taped the windows shut, had snipers on top of every building. This is all documented. You can look up Secret Service detailed plans. They have all their plans. It's all online. And you can look at JFK's the plans for the Secret Service protection for him in every city, and every city is like that, where it's very secure, except Dallas. The windows are not, the buildings aren't searched, the windows aren't taped shut. There's no snipers on the building. The Secret Service pulled off the back of the limo. The motorcycle cops are pulled back. I mean, a complete shift, 100% in security the day he gets murdered versus every other day he was in a motorcade. So look at the Zapruder film all you want. It's not there. It's at the airport. It's in their plans. And it's not hard to figure out who did it at that point. The Secret Service clearly pulled them off. And then who has the power to order the Secret Service? Only the U.S. government at the highest levels. The mafia can't do it. The Russians can't do it. The Cubans can't do it. Eliminated. Oswald was part of it. They groomed him up. And he realized that he was a patsy once other shots were ringing out, I believe, or once he exited the building. If he didn't know that anybody else shot, maybe he took his shot and bailed out. And he's supposed to go out and get in his getaway car, and it's not there. Something triggered him to know that he was going to be the patsy. But he was on their team. But they fooled him into thinking that they were all together. But they needed a fall guy, and he was the guy. So he did do the shooting, but he wasn't alone. And then once he leaves the school book depository, he roams down the street, gets on a bus. The bus gets stuck in traffic. He gets off the bus, walks to another bus station, gets in a cab, tells the cab to drive him to his house, goes a mile past his house or several blocks so that the cab driver wouldn't know where he lived, gets out, walks all the way back to his house, goes inside for like 2 minutes, comes back out with a jacket on. And then he starts walking around town. Police officer stops him. He shoots the cop 4 times, kills him, then goes the other way, walks through Dallas some more, ends up going into a shoe store, but he's just kind of standing at the window as police cars go by because now they're looking for everybody.
Where's he trying to go? Why would he leave his house? Is he trying to leave the city, or what's he trying to do?
Well, he knows now he's being framed. He's not being framed because he did it, but he thought that he was on their team.
Yeah.
So, but now he knows he's not on their team, and they're going to make him take the fall. So now he doesn't know what to do. This is the worst getaway plan ever. So this guy planned out the execution of the president of the United States and has a terrible getaway plan. So he's just trying to figure out how the hell can I hide and escape. So he's doing everything he can to get stopped by a cop, kills him. And if he's not involved, why do you do that? Then he goes in the shoe store because cops are coming down the street with sirens blaring, looking for a suspect that met his description. So he goes in there, and the owner of the shop says he's acting very strange. He's kind of just standing at the front, looking out the window. And as soon as the cop cars go by, he leaves the store and walks down the street some more. So the guy that owns the shoe store watches him, and then he goes into the Texas Theater. But the lady who was working the window had come out to see what was going on with the cops, all the cop cars. And so he goes in without buying a ticket. She doesn't notice him, goes in there, and they find him in there. And then he pulls a gun on the cops in there when they show up. So he was clearly involved, but he was also framed. And, when you think about Oswald, also, he's very political. He's in New Orleans working on pro-Castro. He defected to Russia. He was a radar operator for the Marines. In Japan.
So he went to the Cuban embassy in Mexico. He was down there too, trying to talk to some people.
Right. So this guy is more political than probably anybody listening to this podcast, or the majority of people alive.
Yeah.
Yet the president of the United States is going to drive by his building in a motorcade, and he's not going to watch it. It makes no sense, right? When it makes no sense, it's because it's not true. As long as you have enough information to make sure that you know what you're talking about. And we know he was a very political person, probably on the 99th percentile of that. And he's not going to watch the president go by. He's clearly involved. I mean, clearly he was involved, but he's also clearly not alone. Now, he could have been the only shooter, right? I don't know how he got the 2 shots off. So probably not, but it's possible that he's the only shooter. But I doubt they would leave that up to just him. They're going to make sure the job gets done and frame him.
I don't think they'd leave it up to him.
Whether he's the only shooter. Huh?
I don't think they would leave it just to him. They had to have had multiple shooters. They had to kill Kennedy. Even if they shot at Kennedy and missed one time, they knew that Kennedy would his security after that would never be able to get to him again. So they had to make sure they kill him this day. So I'm positive they had more than one shooter. They had to kill him at that moment. That was their only chance to do it. That
Right,
was their
right.
crossing
'Cause
the
after
Rubicon. They
that,
couldn't go back.
right.
You
Yeah,
know.
and the Texas School Book Depository was bought by LBJ's friend 2 months prior to the shooting. LBJ from Texas, his friend bought that building. I believe it's about 5 weeks prior to the shooting. Oswald just happens to get a job there.
Yeah.
I mean, when you just look at the facts and get rid of all the speculation and conjecture and nonsense and rabbit holes, the picture is ridiculously clear of what happened and who did it. Um, So, point is of all this is that the United States government conducted a covert overthrow of the presidency of the United States. They took complete power, and it was the deep state, our non-elected officials who did this. And once that happened, the CIA gained a lot of power, and they didn't relinquish it. It's only grown. Same with the FBI and even the White House now. So that leads us to today and what's going on. You have a president of the United States, former president of the United States. I believe he's the president, but because no way Joe Biden beat him in an election. But
Yeah.
that aside, they are trying to get rid of him because he's not one of them, and it's very clear. I mean, the guy, if he's convicted on all the criminal charges he's charged with, I believe if he got the maximum sentence, it'd be over 900 years.
Yeah.
I don't know of anybody in the history of the world who's ever faced that much time. And what did he do? What are they even accusing him? There's not bodies. There's not dead bodies. They're not accused of war crimes or killing massive amounts of people. I mean, you're talking about hush money or, little things that are, not that big of a deal. Yet he faces nearly 1,000 years in prison. They're basically trying to assassinate him just in a different way, because assassinating a president or former president now is super risky
Yeah.
and really almost untenable. It's very difficult to do. The Secret Service actually does their job really well now.
Yeah.
So they have to go about it a different way.
Now you got cameras everywhere now. Everybody's watching everything nowadays. So it's not
Right.
1963 where you only
It's
had one or two people with a camera. Now everybody has a camera, so they got to make sure that they get
right.
away with it. And
Building has a camera. Right. So yeah, it would be a very, very difficult thing to assassinate. If they could, they would.
yeah,
I mean, without a doubt, if they could kill him, they would. And the only reason they want to kill him or get rid of him is because he's not part of that, right? So if he gets in there, they're afraid he's going to clean house. And you have the current FBI director, Ray, Homeland Security, Mayorkas, CIA director, Attorney General Garland. These guys have all committed treason. If you watch congressional hearings, you can see how blatant their treason is. They prosecute people that are politically opposed to them for very little things. And if who's taking money from Ukraine, millions, Russia, Romania,
that's
China,
ridiculous. Yeah,
and this has been proven in Congress. I watch these hearings, and they're not doing anything about that. So if you're politically aligned with these deep state actors, then you won't be prosecuted no matter what you do. But if you are politically opposed and you have a position of power and you are actually a threat to take that power, by the people voting, then you got to go. They're going to come after you with everything they've got.
yeah.
Sorry to dominate that, but I get a little passionate about this because the country's falling apart.
I, I already told you, bro. Yeah, no. Speak your mind, man. Yeah, no, I was watching. No, well, basically Charlie Kirk interviewing Michael Flynn yesterday. Yeah, he asked him straight out, "Do you think that it's in their plans to kill him ultimately?" And it just kind of, and he almost doesn't even want to talk about it. Like they don't want people don't want to really throw that out there. You know what I mean? Like why put that in the atmosphere?
Because
Basically,
then they'll come after you.
just I guess you just don't want to put that vibe out there that they could do something like that. But the only thing that gets me is that Cash Patel himself, and I mean certain things that Trump has said himself that that they're gonna look into these people that that broke the law. Adam Schiff and Liz Cheney, all the people that that they deleted all the January 6th stuff and they broke the law. All these people. And Kash Patel basically said, "Yeah, we're gonna go after these people once we get in office." And I don't think it's a good idea to
Right.
already to announce that. It's kind of like the art of war. You don't tell the enemy what your plans are. You keep it secret. So these
Right.
people knowing that that's coming if Trump wins, I can't see them relinquishing power. Like it'd be if their whole thing is to kiss China's ass and be friends with China and show China, look, we're powerful. Look what we're doing to Trump. Look what we're doing to the country. All it's all communist tactics. You guys should be proud of us. Pelosi, Biden, everybody. They would look so stupid if they gave power back to Trump and let Trump basically arrest them, put them in jail. So I can't see these
Right.
people. So it's gonna take almost a miracle for it to work out the way all of us wanted to work out, where the election is being watched fairly. And by the way, I heard last week the RNC is announcing that I don't know how they're gonna do it, but they want to put lawyers at all the voting polls everywhere, lawyers to watch and make sure everything's legitimate, which I think is great. But I don't even know if that's legal to do something like that. But yeah, the election has to be
Well, they
on
do have.
lawyers
I mean,
everywhere.
they have.
Not
No. Like it's illegal to count ballots without observers from both sides, and that's how they stole the election. Like you can look at the video of Atlanta, Georgia, if they haven't scrubbed it off the internet. I doubt they can because it's basically impossible. But they said that I believe it was Atlanta, Georgia. They said that they had a leaky or a water main break, and it would turn out to be a
oh,
leaky
and they kicked
toilet.
everybody out.
And
Yeah,
so they made everybody leave, and it's on camera. And
yeah.
as soon as everybody leaves, only people left are it's a Democrat stronghold in Atlanta, Georgia, which is a swing state. So the plan was, if the election's not going our way, then in these swing states, Democrat held cities will stop the election, make up a reason, stop the election, and then we'll rig it. And so that's exactly what they did. And it's on video, where they kick everybody out. As soon as they leave, they start pulling boxes out of the tape under the table and counting votes. And whether these are legitimate votes or not, I'm sure they're not because they're hidden. But even if they were, counting votes without observers from both sides is illegal. So the FBI looks into it and says, yeah, nothing wrong there.
Yeah.
So that's the problem you have, and this is how the deep state works is, you know, you can, if you're politically aligned with the deep state, you can break the law all you want. There's no one to arrest them. There's no one to prosecute them because they're all part of it. Now, if you're on the politically opposed, you don't even have to do anything wrong. But if you are a threat to them in any way, just by going on the internet and like what we're doing, I don't think we rise to that level. But if you have a big enough following, you become a threat, and they'll go after you for nothing and just make it up, or they'll dig into your past. Now, how many of us can say that if the CIA and FBI dug into everything we ever did, dug into our past, isn't going to find anything, right? They're going to find something, and if they don't, they'll make it up. And so you had 6 states that Trump was leading. I believe he was leading all of them, if not 5 out of 6
Yeah,
that
like
night. I've never seen this happen ever. I've watched every election. They
I could
stopped the
have.
elections in Democrat-held cities. Then the next morning, all of a sudden, Biden won all those states.
Yeah,
And you have on video them counting votes without observers there, and they lied about a water main break. I mean, and the government says they didn't do anything wrong. Well, they did it. It's on video. They broke
yeah.
the law, but they didn't do anything wrong. So this is where we are, and it's like I said, it started with Kennedy.
Didn't it take more than one day? It took a few days, no, before they came back and said, "Oh yeah, Biden won these states." It took. I think it took
Yeah, I
more than
don't
one day.
recall if it was.
It was like
I
3 days.
don't
It was
recall
like
if it
it was
was.
ridiculous how many days it took. Like
Well,
yeah, no, I remember that day, man. I just couldn't believe it. Like you know how I felt about Trump, so I was like, oh man, I hope he loses. But as soon as they stopped the counting, I was like, oh no, something's up, because he was looking like he was gonna win, like for sure. Like everything
Right.
just looked like it. And as soon as they stopped counting at the, at I don't know what time it was, and then he came on live and he said it. I won the election. Something's going on, and yeah, I knew. I even remember telling my girl like. I want them to lose, but not this way. Not this way. If they're doing this, is shady as hell. There's no way that they're stopping the counting. Like, when the hell has that ever happened? And then, sure enough, it took like 2 or 3 days, I think, for them to come back and yeah, Biden won. Like, and he won by the biggest, most votes in U.S. history, more than Obama. And even though Trump got what, how many, like 15 million more votes than he did in 2016, like
Right.
his popularity actually increased, and Biden still outdid that by what, like 10 million votes. Like it's just
Yeah, and it's so absurd. This guy who doesn't campaign, and when he does, he can't fill a high school cafeteria, beats the guy who does campaign, and when he does, he packs stadiums like every day,
yeah, yeah,
right? So you can go to Biden's event, you got 50 people, 100 people, a couple hundred maybe. He can't get people to come.
yeah,
You go to Trump's event, it's in a stadium with thousands of people, tens of thousands in there, and there's people outside who can't even get in because there's not room. But the guy who's super popular loses to the guy who's probably the most unpopular as far as holding events goes.
yeah.
It's just absurd. And on top of that, so he got more votes than Obama. That's how I put it to Democrats. They say, yeah, it wasn't rigged. So you're telling me you put Obama and Biden beside each other, and they're running against each other. He would beat Obama because he did.
Yeah,
He was more popular than Obama, and he can't even get a sentence out.
yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's absurd that this guy won the election, and it's absurd that he's the president of the United States. He can't even give a speech without just mumbling gibberish. Like, So it's very clear what's going on there. The election was rigged, and
How
the
many?
guy who's sitting in the White House was not elected the president of the United States. And for the people who do support him, you said it very good. You were against Trump, and you didn't want him to the election to be rigged for your side to win,
Yeah,
which is, and everybody should be on board with that. I don't care who I support. If it's rigged, we're all going to lose our freedom,
yeah,
right? Everyone thinks like, well, if my team wins and it's rigged, okay, I'm on their team. I'm good. It's only a matter of time till they don't need you anymore, and now you are part of the lower class. They're not going to care about you. They don't need you anymore. They've seized power. It's out in the open, and that's what's coming.
yeah.
So whenever you're on board with rigging elections, you're basically taking away your own freedom, even if you think it's the guy you want.
So I've always wondered, basically, the amount of votes. Sometimes I hear people say that more people voted than were registered. So it doesn't.
Yeah.
A lot of it doesn't even make sense. No, but that kind of takes me to even Trump. Like, could it be possible that they knew Trump was already? They already saw the actual numbers. They saw Trump was winning by a lot. So they had to flood it. They had to basically exaggerate both numbers in order to like kind of to blur where exactly they did it. So could it have been that they actually increased Trump's numbers because they were increasing Biden's by that much? You think they could have overdone
I
Biden's
mean,
numbers, and they meant to be a little closer, and they just with that many secret or
that's
ballots?
possible. I don't know. I
Yeah,
thought that. I
yeah,
never really considered that, but that does make sense.
yeah. I've wondered, like,
I mean, all I
how could
know
they do it? Like, how could they have
is,
to this day? Like, they still
well, the
there's no
plan was in
real.
place prior to
No, go ahead.
No, the plan was in place prior to the election. So this is how they rigged it. Normally, they rigged the primaries, just like JFK. They didn't. It's not in the Zapruder film. It's not in the event. It's the prior event. Like the primaries for the presidential race, they rigged those, and so they'll back two deep state people, Republican and Democrat. It's a facade. They're both on the same team. And then when you vote in the general election, they don't normally have to rig it because you know you vote for whoever you want. They're both going to do what we want. But they didn't take Trump seriously, so he got through.
Yeah,
But the way they rigged this election was they had the place and plan long before the election that we'll monitor the election and we'll do Georgia, Pennsylvania, I believe Wisconsin. There was like 6 states that were purple states. They could go either way, right? And so in the cities in those states that were Democrat held, run by Democrats, they had in place, if the election's close or we're losing, we'll stop the election and then we'll rig it. And you can see it, like I said in the video, they kick everybody out, tell them they're going to stop the voting till the morning. Literally as soon as those people are out of there, they start counting votes again.
yeah,
I mean, it, it's not even a question of whether they rigged it. in that video, they clearly rigged it, and that's how they did it. They had this plan in place already, and that's why Biden got more votes than even people that could vote, because they're pulling ballots out from underneath the table that are probably fictitious ballots, and then they're just running them through.
Well, there it
And
was.
they're running them through the same ballot they ran through multiple times.
Yeah. So I
They
don't
run
get
the
how
same ballot
they
through multiple times.
lose lawsuits. Supposedly they lost like lawsuits like in every state where they were trying to challenge. I don't know how many it was, but how did they lose lawsuits with that kind of evidence unless they didn't have evidence at the time? I just don't.
Well,
I
let
just
me
don't
put it
understand
like
how it
this.
could be so many people that just that contributed to stealing the election. This case, we're talking
Well,
about JFK, and they were trying to limit how many people would know, that they were going to do that. In this case, it's really taking a lot of people, to
right.
participate. I don't know if you ever saw that Biden gave medals of honor to some of the poll workers. Do you ever see that? It was like 6 or 7. Yeah.
No, but
And so they think that, yeah, he's rewarded them for helping him steal the election. Like, it's just a
right. And
disgraceful
that's
ass
how it's
people,
done.
man.
That's how it's done. They'll give them good positions, good jobs, bribe them, and and the ones who aren't going to fall for that, they're not going to be bribed, or all these things. Then it's basically intimidation. Are you really going to, if you're a judge and the CIA and FBI and the White House want you to get in line with this rigging? Are you really going to stand up to the people who murdered the president, who are going after the former president like they are? I mean, they have no qualms of going after anybody in any position. They will. I mean, these people are vicious,
Yeah.
vicious people, and people are. If you're not bribed with a job or money or whatever, then you're going to be intimidated by super vicious people who hold the highest positions in law enforcement. Do you think you're going to win that battle? Good luck,
Yeah, no shit, man.
right? So they're going, well, shit. If I don't get on board, they're going to crush me, and it's made very clear to them. And so most of them, I think, though, are coerced, via uh, jobs and promotions and envelopes with cash and things like that. No problem. Some of them drank the Kool-Aid and are just not very bright and very easily led,
That's what
like
I think.
sheep.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the biggest problem, is the are being led like sheep, a lot of them, and that's what's led to the
But
this problem as well. The government taking over, and then the American people not paying attention. And don't get me wrong, I've been fooled too. I was voting for a lot of people like the Bush and Romney and McCain. All these people are corrupt. I'm not siding with the Republicans or the Democrats. Democrats are without a doubt corrupt, but the majority are a lot of Republicans, especially the high ones, McConnell, Graham, right now, corrupt.
yeah,
They're all in it together. This idea that we have Republican and Democrats, nonsense. It's red and blue. Put the colors together. It's purple. It's the royalty. American royalty is what we have, and all they care about is maintaining growing power, maintaining and growing wealth for themselves. Everybody else, we are all just pawns in their game. And if you don't play along, they will crush you.
I just don't understand what kind of evil mentality can you have? Like you participated in stealing an election. Even the media is probably the most disgusting people, man. That man, that they they spread that message to the people, but knowing how bad everything has gotten since Biden came into power, the economy, and now just with the wars all over the world, what I mean, Iran, they're giving money to Iran and to the to the Palestine. What was what the hell's the people in charge of Palestine? Hamas.
Hamas.
Yeah, they're giving money to them. They're giving money to Israel. They're giving money to Ukraine. They're giving, like it's ridiculous how ugly everything got, and these people don't even care. They go on the news, and they're still trying to spread that message as if it was a good thing that Biden won, and we would have been worse off with Trump. Like it makes no sense. Like where does that confidence come from to be so evil? Basically, I just don't understand how.
The confidence for these people to do the things they're doing, the majority, is because they know there's no one to prosecute them. Right? The federal government, if you're politically aligned, they will not prosecute you. You go ahead and lie, steal, cheat, murder, whatever. If you don't get caught red-handed, and even if you do, they might not prosecute you. But most of the time, they're not going to even look into it. And why these people are doing such evil things is really, I mean, that comes down to uh, God. Because if you don't have a higher power, there is no such thing as evil, right? I mean, who decides what's evil and what's good if you don't have a higher power? That's a personal opinion, and nobody's opinion is stronger than the others because we're all equal. So the evil you're seeing is coming from Satan, satanic forces, demons, fallen angels, whatever you want to call it, and that's really where this is coming from. I don't want to, push that like super hard because some people don't believe in that, but that's what I believe is, when you don't have a moral compass from a higher power, then who's to say what's right and wrong? You decide for yourself because there's no one above you. As far as you're a human being, he's a human being, she's a human being. They're all equal, and so everyone makes up their own moral code.
Yeah.
And if you're all about money and power, well, then your moral code is like do whatever it takes to get money and power.
Yeah.
And there's nothing off limits. Just don't get caught. And even if you do, you can be blatant about it because the CIA, FBI, Homeland Security, DOJ, they're not coming after you because you're towing the line for them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but I mean, as far as just to be able to go on camera and just smirk, almost smirk, like be smug about it, the fact that you're so damn crooked, and yeah, I guess it would explain, you know what I mean, that it's just they're just evil
Yeah,
souls basically, and it makes sense. Most of these politicians, they go to.
yeah.
I know you've heard of Bohemian Grove here in California. Uh, they all
Oh yeah,
worship
yeah,
some sort of owl or something like that. And yeah, you can't be worshiping an owl and be
yeah.
Christian and be a real
I've
true
seen a video of
Christian
that.
is what they try to pretend that they are. You know what I mean? There's no way you could go to something like that. And, there's all kinds of stories that come out
Well,
of there.
Christianity. But yeah, I don't know. Like when you get into the Bohemian thing or the Illuminati and stuff like that, I don't worry too much about that because that could be just more distractions, right? Oh, believe in these secret societies and all this stuff. They could be real. They probably are real, but how nefarious they actually are, I don't know. But it doesn't really. You don't really need that to understand those to understand what's going on. So once again, I think that's more of a rabbit hole, like a lot of the JFK conspiracies, and really that's what I say to people is make things simple, right?
Yeah.
The truth is not difficult to figure out if you don't complicate it. Just look at the facts, inform yourself, and look at what you know. And when you do that, it's not too hard to figure out and draw conclusions that are pretty sound,
Yeah.
right? But people get caught up in these rabbit holes, and it's intentional. The CIA is notorious, and the government's notorious for putting misinformation out there and false red herrings, and go look over here, go look over there, go look over here, and it's all to keep you from being able to figure out the truth. And
Yeah.
if you can differentiate between what isn't factual and what is, then just stick with the facts and the evidence, and it's pretty easy to figure most of these things out. The JFK assassination is not even difficult to figure out, but I had a hard time figuring it out for years because all these distractions, you know, until I saw the video at the airport, that was the one fact that really made it clear to me. But I didn't come across that for a long time because all these other people that I'm listening to and these books I'm reading and documentaries were all chasing these distractions that are mostly put out there by the government. And then you have some people who just want their 15 minutes of fame and say, well, it could be difficult to figure out. So sometimes it does take a while. But once you do find the facts, it's pretty clear, pretty easy.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bohemian Grove is real for sure. Even Kid Rock was on Joe Rogan not that long ago, and he said that he'd been there and he saw all kinds of celebrities. He saw Tony Danza, and I forgot what he named a bunch of people. But so for sure
Yeah, but
they're
what are,
doing
what are
for.
they actually about?
I
I
think
don't
it's
even
it's
know what
more just to kind of see how far you're willing to go. You know what I mean? How much are you willing to sacrifice? It could be that they're setting them up. They're you know what I mean? They're trying to entrap them to do something there at night because they stay like overnight and there's a bunch of little little bungalows and stuff like that. Who knows what kind of nasty stuff these guys are going in, getting into over there. So, but yeah, as far as like the
Right.
Illuminati and
So we
stuff like
don't
that,
really know.
yeah, I try not to
Yeah,
focus
and
on
we
that.
really don't know what their goals are. 'Cause we don't know, right? We don't know what are they actually trying to accomplish, if anything. We don't really know. It's just like, okay, these group of people who are famous, rich, powerful, whatever, they get together and do some stuff, but we don't know exactly what they're doing and why. I mean, we know a little bit, but we don't know enough facts to say, okay, this is what's going on there. I've never heard enough facts. Now, if there were good facts out there, then we can make a better determination, but I don't know what their goal is. It could be innocent, or anything from innocent to just evil, nefarious stuff. I don't
Well, that's
know.
why I bring
I
it
don't
up.
have, and that's why I can't draw a conclusion on that. And huh?
That's why I bring it up.
What?
Basically, I said that's why I bring it up. Basically, just to that they go on TV and they're just so confident in just how deceptive they are, how much they're lying, and trying to get away with just evil activity, and it must be from just being part of clubs like that where they just know they're part of some club, some evil club, and they just gotta go along with it and basically
Yeah, the rich and powerful are, as long as they're politically aligned with the people in charge, then yeah, they're super confident because they do know that they're fine. So yeah, do whatever you want, kind of thing. But yeah, and that's where I think that confidence comes from. Is like, hey, we're politically aligned with the people who are in charge, and they're super corrupt, but whatever. I'm rich and powerful and famous and whatever, so it's all worked out for me. Tell them in the end it's not going to work out for you, because God's judgment is going to have a different take on that one.
well, that's the thing. If they don't, I mean, if they're already worshiping the devil, they're not scared of that type of thing. But all right, Dan. So we're 54 minutes in.
I mean, I don't even know that worship.
Wait, say again, brother. I think it cut out right there. Say that again.
Oh, I don't even know that they're worshiping the devil. Some of them are probably, and then some are probably atheists. But basically, God isn't really an issue for them. Is really what it comes down to. They're their own gods. They're you know so this doesn't come into play. Good and evil and right and wrong is not part of their thinking. It's just how can I get more. It's just more, more, more. And you just align with the politically left or the deep state, and you're good. Go ahead and do whatever you want. Just don't make it super obvious to where it gets on the news and we have to do something about it.
Well, I guess I don't know. I guess to me, it's a
But anyway, yeah,
possibility.
you wanted to move on to topic of the day, or
Yeah, you know what? I think there might be a delay on our audio, bro. I keep saying things, and
yeah,
I notice that you're hearing it later. But it might be because
yeah.
I'm. Okay, so I think it catches up though, because there's certain times where I say something and you kind of pick up pretty quick. So I don't know. Well,
Most of the time, no delay. Just real recently, it started delaying.
oh, okay. I don't know, cause maybe because I'm doing all kinds of clicking over here on the computer, so I don't know if just messing with the software slows it down a little bit. But
Probably the secret, brother.
well, this ain't even going out live; it's just recording. So yeah, they're for
I know.
sure they're
Uh,
watching they're watching our phones or something. But no. But as far as where we're at 56 minutes right now. So yeah, as far as with JFK and all that, yeah, I've always wondered why the hell nobody emphasized that Secret Service agent being taken off. Your theory about where the fatal shot came from the manhole in the street. Yeah, people need to focus more on that, and that makes more sense than
well,
the
the
grass.
manhole thing. The thing about the manhole is, like, for me, I just looked at the whole scene multiple times. People go out there and video it, and if that shot is good, and it is, because they've checked the trajectory, and it's fine. You have a shot from his chest up, so it's a good place to shoot from. The shot's fine. It's closer than the grassy knoll to the president,
Yeah,
and if you could be anywhere as an assassin, there's no better place. You're in a bunker that's dark. No one knows you're there, and then you take the shot, and then you just exit out the pipes,
Yeah.
and no one's even looking for you. It's a perfect place to be. So why wouldn't you be there? Um, and even when you watch the Zapruder film, it looks like that's the angle he gets shot from. But it, like I said, it doesn't much matter if it's from there or the grassy knoll or wherever.
Well, I mean,
It's who ordered it.
if it's a military operation where they gotta succeed, I wouldn't be surprised if they had two shooters in the buildings, one in the manhole and one on the grassy knoll. They just had to kill him, and the first one that they knew would take him
and,
out, they probably thought the one
and
from the
possibly more.
yeah, they probably thought whoever shot him in the back of the in the back, that was supposed to be the kill shot. They probably thought they're gonna take him out from shoot him in the back of the head. They
Right.
only got his back, so they had to do another shot. I
Exactly.
doubt it was the same person that shot him twice from the back. So it was probably for sure two shooters in the buildings. And then once they saw that he's still moving around, he's still alive, the kill shot had to come from the front, the manhole or the grassy knoll. But
Right.
you know what I mean? The angle for sure came from the front. It's stupid that something, what I mean? Like people to think that you could get shot from the back and you shoot backwards. That doesn't make, I don't know, it doesn't make sense. It's for sure a big suspension of disbelief to try to convince yourself of that. That the
Yeah.
body,
Don't believe your lying eye.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's just, but that's what they've been going with this whole time. So then yeah, so it all that leads, kind of to what ended up happening after JFK will lead into what I want to talk about right now, as far as one of our solutions, which is going to be one of the themes of this show. As far as topics of the what's going on right now, like I said, before we started, Trump's in the hush money trial right now. Everybody's waiting to see what Israel's going to do to Iran, and they're announcing it. It's weird how that's playing out. That supposedly Iran saying that they didn't intend for all those missiles that they shot over the weekend to really escalate anything. They just wanted to show it was a show of force just to retaliate for them killing their general in one of the embassies and stuff like that. So I'm like, what the hell? It seems like they're just playing games. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how the hell? That's fine. It's good because it's
Well,
not leading to like world war and a hot, complete war. But the fact that they're doing it like that, and now they're saying that Israel's announcing too that they have to respond, but they're hoping what the response doesn't escalate too. Like it's fucking weird, man. Like how they're going about things. I don't know if you have any thoughts about
well,
that,
think
but
about like, okay, so yeah, I would say logically, when you look at what Iran did, right now, it wasn't very successful, but it's a great test. Right now,
yeah,
you know what the response will be, how effective or non-effective it was. So now, next time they'll do it differently and try something else. Right. So if you don't respond, there's nothing to stop them from doing it another way
yeah,
that would be more successful. They know that didn't work very well, so they could do it another way. So, and Iran saying that, we didn't expect it to escalate. I mean, if Iran's talking, they're lying. If the president of the United States is talking, he's lying. I mean, so to trust anything they say is just nonsense. Once again, just look at the behavior. They attacked them. It didn't work. So if they attack again, they'll do it a different way. Now they've gained information. They've gained insight into Israel's defense and the other countries who defend it. Now they know, okay, this is how they'll defend this. So we'll try a different thing. They're not going to stop. They want the elimination of all Jews. So for Israel not to respond would be a mistake. But even Israel's in a bad situation. If they do respond, it's going to cause problems. If they don't respond, it's going to cause problems. So, um, I think you got to respond because you got to let them know you attack us, we attack you. And they can say, well, they attacked us first because they blew up that embassy in Damascus with
it,
Iranian generals and whatever in there. But you got to understand those Iranian generals were conducting war against Israel as advisors to Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, etc. So they were combatants. They were actively attacking Israel, even though they didn't have a gun. They're like, they're doing that. So Israel's attack is essentially justified. They're
but
attacking the people who are coordinating attacks against them.
yeah, yeah. Just I guess it just sounds childish like that. You know what I mean? Just saying, "Oh, you hit me first, so I hit you back." You know what I mean? Like, oh, we're gonna hit you,
It-
but we don't want a fist fight. You know, we're just gonna punch you while you're
right.
walking away. Like, it sounds
Yeah.
strange. It doesn't
But
sound like that's
don't
how.
fist back.
Huh?
Yeah, it's over now. I hit you, but it's all good.
Yeah, we're friends again. But so then,
Yeah.
so that as far as news, what's going on. Since we've already this far in. Oh, my stupid dog. My dumb dog got caught in my headphones. Oh, here we go. The only other thing that's really crazy is Speaker Johnson kind of selling out. So now they're Marjorie Taylor Greene did another motion to vacate, and Thomas Massey he's actually on board. But supposedly the Democrats might save him because basically they want to vacate him now because he's on board with the Democrats to do funding for Israel, Ukraine, and now Taiwan, and I guess like a standalone bill, and he's kind of going. Even what's this? Rand Paul was talking crap about it. Like, what the hell? This guy seemed like he was on point in the beginning, but now he's fully in line with Chuck Schumer and all those guys. So I guess that's one of the other major topics that's going on right now. I don't know if you heard anything about that.
But um, yeah, I don't really have a lot of information on that one.
No.
I would say this though, because the news and everybody else. Last time they ousted the speaker, the news was all, the Republicans can't. They're so disarrayed. They can't get their act together, and they can't. They're not even, a one union or this and that, criticizing them for that. And I would say, conversely, you got Republicans who are saying, "Look, we're not putting up with corruption in our own party or anywhere, right?" Democrats don't ever do that, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
they have a corrupt speaker, they are not going to out them, right? So this basically proves the corruption and where it is. The ones who are going after people in their own party are saying, "Hey, they've been corrupted," and you never see Democrats do that ever.
Yeah.
So
I,
that would be the point. That would be the big point to me on that. The details of why they're going after him, I haven't actually looked into.
well, it's just that it's basically he's kind of he's they just feel he's selling out. He heard something.
Yeah.
He said on the news the other day. He did like a really quick statement. They're asking him, you know what I mean, like why all of a sudden he's I forgot what it was that he was going to vote for, but he said that he felt a certain way when he became speaker, but that he went
Oh,
behind
and he's
closed
talking.
doors and heard some sort of intelligence briefing, and that changed his mind. So now he's for it. So he
Oh,
encouraged every.
that was
You heard that one?
that that was FISA, and I do know
Oh,
about that
FISA.
one.
That's
That's
right.
FISA, though.
That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. You're
Yeah,
right. But it's probably
that's the
has the same
foreign.
thing to do with it. That probably
Right, that's the foreign spy operation.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm sure that's kind of has to do with why he's doing you know what I mean, like completely changing his position on Ukraine and basically ignoring the border because that's basically what they all wanted him to do. They wanted him to shut down the border before we gave Ukraine or Israel any more money, and he's not even talking about the border anymore. So who knows what happened?
Isn't it? Isn't it interesting that the United States is concerned with everybody's borders but our own? How
I know.
dare you cross the border to Ukraine? Hey, anybody wants to cross our border, you're good.
Yeah. Well, that's the point. I think that's
I
the
mean,
point that Marjorie Taylor Greene and Matt Gaetz are trying to make when they keep vacating these speakers, is that let's secure our border, and it makes sense. Like if they even just explain it that way, let's fix our country first, and we can help Israel, we can help Ukraine, and send them money. But if we're flooding our own country and basically economically destroying it this way, like we're not gonna be able to help anybody. In the end, it's all gonna be gone. So why not save the country first, and then in about a year, which I don't think it'll take that long, maybe we could start putting money aside for Ukraine and Israel stuff like that. But they're just doing everything at once, and they're just overwhelming the country. You
well,
heard of
this
that?
is an attempt at the one world order, right? So that's why you're seeing this stuff with Ukraine and our border is they're trying to get a one world government, and who stands in the way of that? Who's the biggest player in the world that stands in the way
The United
of
States.
tyranny?
Yeah.
Right. So flood the country with people who aren't Americans. They're gonna, hopefully vote for them is what they want. But if they don't, we'll rig it. But really, what they're trying to do is weaken the economy or weaken the average American citizen's buying power. So if you don't have money, or your money's depleted to a degree, the more it's depleted, the less power you have. Money is power. So people really worried about gun control. You should really be worried about money control or inflation. That it's intentional. All these things, you go to the store, everything's super expensive. You try to rent a house, buy a house, whatever.
Yeah.
Anything you want to buy, rent, whatever, and it's really revolves around gas prices. But this is intentional to weaken the Americans' ability to be independent,
Yeah.
right? So they want to make you dependent on the government, and if they take away your money, you're going to be reliant on them. And if they get enough people relying on the government, they cannot oppose the government because then they don't eat, they don't have a house, right? They can't function.
Yeah.
So you got to do what they say, and really, so if they break down our strength here, then that's the biggest obstacle to instituting a one world government.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, that's exactly what I think. Yeah, they're for sure trying to take down the United States because once the United States is gone, it's all over. And a lot of these that's
And
exactly
how to
what
solve this?
and
Oh, go ahead.
that's what I'm talking about when these people go on TV and act so damn arrogant and they're just so smug and proud of what how everything's going. Like, how could you be like proud? How could you smirk about what's happening? Like you're destroying the country, the only hope for the world. You know what I mean? Like, how could you be happy
Well,
about that?
because they know their money and power is going to increase because they're playing ball with the deep state. So they're, no matter how it plays out, they're going to be better off. But the majority of Americans and people around the world are going to be worse off.
But in what?
And
But
so
yeah, but
they don't have a
what world
moral.
are they going to live in? You know what I mean? I mean, yeah, they're going to have all this money and power. They're going to be able to vacation, have yachts, and go to Dubai and go all over the world. But it's going to be an ugly world. You know what I mean? Like it's only going to they're going to be so isolated, and I just don't get how they could be happy about
It's
that. You
only
know?
going to be ugly for the people who don't have those things. It's going to be great for them. Why wouldn't it be great for them? They're going to live in gated communities with guns and security, even though they don't want you to have guns. They're going to be just fine in their um, isolated areas
Yeah,
of wealth.
yeah,
They don't have any problem with that, and they're going to get more of it. And so that's why they're smug, is because they know that they're on the side that has the power, and the
yeah.
side that has the power has almost complete power. So a solution to this is very difficult because they have the media, they have the government, they have damn near everything.
There you go, right
There's
there.
very few things, and that's why Trump's got to go, because Trump is actually more popular than them and can beat them in an election. So how to solve it?
Well,
You got to start with.
you led right into the first solution perfectly. Oh, but I want to kind of tie it into the JFK thing. So
Okay.
do you know what the main news story was after JFK?
I don't
Something.
know.
It was the kidnapping of Frank Sinatra Jr. You ever hear about that? That they
Oh
kidnapped
yeah, yeah,
him.
vaguely.
Yeah. So basically, about a month after JFK was assassinated, this dominated the media. The whole thing. Oh, where's Frank Sinatra Jr. And he came back, and people think that it was a setup, but they basically started pushing JFK's murder to the side with this. So yeah, so basically, to me, it kind of goes back to the media. That's what I think is their number one source of power. So like I told you, I had a list of you saw it already, a list of solutions that I want us to kind of work on, and not that we're gonna figure it all out, but at least if we open that discussion, we could come back to it and throw in what we think. All right, if we focus on this, have basically a list of solutions on topics on how to solve the problem. And so when I first started this list, I kind of did it randomly. It wasn't anything in order. But then when we were about to start the show, I started thinking about what if we did it by priority? Like what is the number? Like what's more important than the other? So I started breaking it down, and what I really came to the conclusion was kind of what you just said, basically that their source of power is the press, is the media,
Yeah.
and so you
Mhm.
take that. I've always wanted to know what the fairness doctrine, how it really worked. Do you remember that? Do you remember how it was? Because I guess they got rid of that in the late '80s. The fairness doctrine. You know much about that?
Yeah, I know a little bit. I know that it's basically honesty and journalism,
Yeah. So how could
and
you
how it
not?
was
Why would you want to get rid of that? You
right.
know what I mean? But they did, and
Yeah,
I don't hear
because
nobody ever talking about it.
right, and really, I mean, it would be hard to say, "Hey, we're going to monitor speech." See, I'm a free speech person. I think without that, you don't have freedom. So, telling anybody what they can say and what they can't say, whether they're lying or not, I'm not on board with. So, I think the solution to that is for people to wake up that are watching these so-called news shows, which are really just nothing more than government-run state propaganda,
Yeah.
to turn them off. Don't watch them. If you're not watching these people lie to you and manipulate you and steal your country, steal your wealth, steal your independence, then they don't have a platform anymore. But when people keep turning it on and going, well, I'm on the blue team and I agree with what they're saying, well, you need to start thinking because these people are not about freedom, they're about tyranny. So shut it off is really the solution. Let them go ahead and lie all they want, but let them lie to themselves or the wall or the mirror. Don't turn your TV on and listen. And there's nobody out there with any damn common sense that can turn on the news
That right there is
and say that they're not being lied to. At some point, it's pretty obvious, but they go, you know what? I'm on that team, so I'm going to ignore that. I'm going to allow that. Well, when you ignore and allow that, you're saying, I'm going to go ahead and give up my freedom, give up my independence, because they're going to take it. You're only on their team as long as they need you on the team. At some point, you're going to get cut from that team because you are. So just shut it off. Don't watch it. I don't watch any of it. I block it all
well.
because
That's the
it's just propaganda.
problem.
I
It's
mean,
one of those institutions that everybody grew up on. So you automatically, just like a doctor, you know what I mean. You grow up with that belief that, oh, it's a doctor, oh, it's the news, so I gotta believe it. They're you know what I mean. They're on our side. We gotta, because you kind of grow up and it's embedded into you. Growing up, you know that they're the ones telling the truth. They're the legitimate you know what I mean, voice out there, and
they're the
everything else is not real. But it's like you said, that now they're propaganda. So most people aren't into politics, so they just take that, and if a story isn't being talked about on, you know, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, CBS, they don't think it's real, and that I think is the power that they know they have. That we dominate these channels and these stations, and we know that people trust us over. Basically, the new alternative news is podcasts and Twitter, and they're saying they're talking about a lot of truth. But if MSNBC isn't talking about it, nobody's gonna believe it, and they're on there now every day just saying lies like about everything. Like they're putting out the lies about COVID. They're putting out the lies about the 2020 election, about Ukraine and the money, and Trump especially. Like all the stuff they're saying about Trump, like constantly, like that's when somebody that doesn't follow politics, they want to know what's going on, they'll go to these news stations, and if they hear them saying it, oh, they're just going to automatically believe it because they're not going to do their homework. They're not going to investigate, oh, could they be lying to me? They don't even think that way. So it's up to
right.
the people that do know the truth, and it's up to, you know, especially politicians, you know, these politicians that are, you know, that got the most common sense right now, to start holding the media basically accountable and take it back. The fact that it's in, what is it, in the, is it the Constitution or the Bill of Rights? Which one is it, that the freedom of the press?
It's in the Constitution,
It's
First
in,
Amendment, freedom of speech.
yeah. So
It's freedom of speech,
if we know that these people are
etc.
lying, basically we know that they've hijacked that right, that thing that's in our Constitution, the freedom of the press. What's the point of
Right.
having a freedom of press if we know people that actually know facts and do our homework? We know they're lying to us. Then we have to start all saying it, that the freedom of the press, that part of the Constitution, has been hijacked. And we need to figure out a way to take that back. And it's not through all of a sudden, no, now you got to say our truth. That's why I think something like the fairness doctrine. Basically, from what I understand, the fairness doctrine is that they have to have whatever the story is, they have to allow both sides, both opposing opinions on it. So it makes it balanced. So it gives the people
Right, right,
their ability to come to their conclusion on what they want to believe. And right now, and I guess once they got rid of it, I've seen it in movies. Basically, they say that once they got rid of it, that was the rise of Fox News and Rush Limbaugh. That all of a sudden it could be completely one sided, and basically
right.
you could just and at that point it starts turning into propaganda. But at this point now we see the left is dominant. The left is the one that now they're spewing the most propaganda, and it's actually some of the most critical propaganda. You know what I mean? Because it's now making this country literally like a communist country. So then, as far as solutions, that's what I felt that if some of these politicians would start talking about that, bringing back a form of the fairness doctrine, really breaking up these monopolies, because that's kind of how they're doing it. You trip out how whenever they're gonna start talking, they have their talking points. How it is, they're all in sync. It's not just
Yeah.
what I mean. It's all the way down the line. It's
Cover.
every single one of them. The newspapers. It's on social media. They all do it. Local newspapers everywhere. Local news stations. They all talk about the same exact message. You know what I mean? And so that could only be done from it being monopolized. Like it's obviously fewer people that are in charge that are able to send down that message. So that's the second solution I came to. And a way I thought to justify all these things is if they did some sort of audit, some sort of investigation, like in Congress or something, basically start listing all the things that the media has been throwing out there that we know are lies, that we know are false, false narratives that and just basically make a list and compare that to how many things that they're reporting that are right, that are relevant, that are important, and from that start pushing that. Look, this is now a propaganda machine. The whole media, the whole right that we have that's in the Constitution has been taken over, and we need to give it back to the people. We need to make it fair again, and that's the only way. I think that's because no matter what we try to do, no matter what, obviously these politicians, you have that guy Bobolinsky, the guy that came out and said all this stuff about Biden, that he's literally a witness to him taking money from China, from Ukraine, from Russia. That should have been dominating. How the hell is that not dominating the news cycle? You know what I mean? Like, it did it for like a day or two, but the MSNBC barely reported on it. Like, they're not going to talk about it if they don't have to. You know what I mean? Like, so this way, these solutions right here, I think, is a good path towards taking away what I think is their number one source of power, which is the media, which is basically these channels and stuff like that. So, I mean, I don't know. I've been thinking about this for a long time, I guess, but
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about all that.
Yeah. Yeah. You definitely know more about that one than me. I'm on board with the fairness doctrine. What you said about having both sides being presented. That's a good start. I agree. So if you have the news on there and you got one side telling their side and the other side telling their side, then the people can make up their minds.
Yeah.
But I just return to, for me, I think the best solution for dealing with government run propaganda, which is the majority of the news,
Mm-hmm.
or AKA news, is when you turn it on and you're being lied to, you're literally paying your oppressor to oppress you.
Yeah.
If no one's watching it, then it stops, because there's no point in having um, a news channel or a propaganda channel on the air if there's no viewers. So the power is really in the hands of the people, and always has been in all these issues. If the people just shut it off, don't watch it. As far as the media goes, and other issues, this will work too. The people can take back power anytime they want, anywhere they want, but they got to understand, because there's a lot of people who agree with a lot of the things, political positions on these news channels. I say that loosely, and so when they know that it's nonsense and it's like, this is just nonsense, they'll forgive them. They'll let it go because they think they're on that same team. And that's a very clever tactic. They put people on teams. But when you know they are lying to you, if they're lying to you about this, what makes you think they're not lying to you about the things you're agreeing with them on?
Yeah.
So
But
don't
that's
let
kind
them
of that's
oppress
kind of the
you. The
problem though.
news is trying to oppress.
Most of these people, they're not into politics. Most people, they don't follow it. You know what I mean? They have no interest. They don't care. They just they want to know what's going on. Maybe when an election's coming up, so they'll turn it on, or they'll listen to their local news, which is probably the worst news, and they'll just see what the political topic is,
Right.
and they'll form their opinion really quick, and that's it. They'll go about the rest of their lives. They go back to what they're dealing with, to go back to their sports and go back to, what I mean? Like politics is not a big issue for most, I think most people, most voters. So they just rely on the news to
But I mean, it should be now because guess what? Go to the store. Politics is important to you. You don't have any money,
yeah.
right? They're taking all your money. You're paying way more for everything, and that's intentional. So the real solution here, I would say, this is my opinion, is you can get the correct information. You're not going to get it on state-run propaganda or the news, whatever you want to call it. It's not there. Shut them off. Don't listen to them. Go and watch congressional hearings. You can watch them live. You can watch them on YouTube. In these hearings, you have the fairness doctrine. You have the both sides talking in there and evidence being reported to you right there in Congress. You don't have the middleman of the news who can change the narrative. You can watch it yourself firsthand. They lay the evidence on the table. They talk about it. They argue about it, and you don't have any middleman in there um, filtering what they want you to know and what they don't want you to know. You can know the whole story just by doing a little bit of work. If you can watch the news, you can watch congressional hearings. Just switch your time that you watch the news to watching some, even if you don't watch a lot, you can still get some pretty good opinions. Instead of watching a news show,
Yeah.
instead of turning that on, go to YouTube, look up congressional hearings, and watch some hearings. Spend the same amount of time you would spend watching the news. And now you don't have anybody between you and the truth.
Yeah.
And then you shut them off. They have no more platform. They have no more ability to press you. And you're getting the information straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. Well, that's just what I'm saying. I just don't think a lot of people really, care enough about politics to watch like a congressional hearing, to watch C-SPAN, stuff like that. Even though, yeah, it's the information's there. You see them debate. You'll hear both sides. You can form your opinion, but most people just want it really quick. They want to hear what it is, what he
Well,
wants to do, and if it's
spend the
propaganda,
same amount of
they're
time.
more likely going to be swayed towards the
But,
wrong
but
direction.
you could spend the same amount of time watching the congressional hearings that you do watching the news. If you watch the local news, you spend a half an hour. Watch a half an hour of congressional hearings instead. That's news, but it's unfiltered news.
No.
The news is filtered. So what do you want? Do you want the truth or do you want the filtered truth? Right? Like you don't have to, I'm not saying I don't even on the right, Fox News, Newsmax, OAN, whatever. You don't even need to watch those. Anybody watch news, shut it off. Well, you spend however much time you spend watching the news, watch a congressional hearing. Like I said, they're on YouTube or you can watch them live. You don't have to spend any more time. You're going to get the same information, but you're going to get it from the horse's mouth without anybody trying to manipulate the narrative and make you believe what they want you to believe. Instead, you're getting it right. You're getting the information presented to you, the evidence presented to you to your face.
Yeah.
And so it's very easy to figure out what's going on that way. When you watch the news, it's kind of hard to figure out what's going on because they have an agenda, and the people in Congress do too. But they have both sides in there.
Yeah.
You're hearing it from both sides. There's your fairness doctrine.
I've been watching Fox News a lot. They have like some guys that are at least talking that common sense, and they talk about 2020 election being stolen, and they'll talk more truth about COVID, and they're honest about Trump. How it's all just basically a big setup. But I think Fox News just has a bad reputation from the Bush years, and all that in the '90s and stuff like that. So I don't think a lot of people trust them.
Right.
They have Jesse Waters and stuff like that, but for sure CNN and MSNBC and I don't even know, CBS, I guess, whatever. I don't know who has like a cable news network. They all say the same message. They're just 100% for the COVID. The pandemic was legitimate. The 2020 election was not rigged, and what's happening to Trump is his own doing. He did it all to himself. So they're just following the law, and you know what I mean. So I just think there's there's truth out there, but it's just gonna take more. I think it's gonna take all of them, all the news stations to be fair. You know, so if MSNBC is still out there putting that propaganda out there, I think people are just gonna go real quick, watch it, and they're just gonna brainwash the majority of the country. So I think it's really important that they do something to try to take the press back and shut down the machine, basically their propaganda machine. I think because I think this is just their number one source of power. They could lie as long as they put that lie out there. These news networks are going to put it out there, and they're going to reach millions of people, and that's all they need. As long as they feel they have that, they're going to still keep doing what they're doing. They're not going to be scared at all. They're going to keep passing all these bullshit, you know, bills and all this stuff that's just ruining the country. Yeah, I don't know if I've
I'll
explained
give
that
you.
well, but
I give you.
but
I'll give you an analogy that a more simple analogy for the news versus congressional hearings. Like, so say I wanted to know your stance on immigration, right?
yeah,
I could ask you, hey, what is your stance on immigration? Or I can go ask somebody who knows you, but I don't really trust.
yeah,
Hey, what is Fernando's stance on immigration? Why would I that person I go and ask that I don't really trust, or maybe I do trust. Why would even if I did trust him, why would I ask him what your stance is when I can ask you? That's the same as watching the news. You're asking somebody else what the truth is when you can go right to the source. The
yeah,
news isn't the source of the information. The source is right there in Congress. And
yep,
like I said, you don't have to spend whatever time you turn on the news. You spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes, an hour, whatever you do, just switch that over to a YouTube video of congressional hearings on whatever topic you want. Every topic that's on the news, they have congressional hearings on them. There have been congressional hearings on them. So don't go ask a third party what the news is. That's what the issues are. That's the news.
yeah,
Congress is the first party. You're talking directly to the person, or you're listening to the people who actually are giving you the actual news. This is where the actual news comes from. Then it gets filtered to the media. So I'm not going to go ask somebody else what you think. I'll just ask you. Why would
yeah,
I do that? Even if they try their best to give it to me honestly, it's still not going to be completely accurate. Is your stance as you would give me,
yeah,
right? Even if they're being honest. But if they're not being honest, I'm going to get a completely different position than you have from that person. If they're not trustworthy, they're going to tell me what they want me to believe instead of what you actually believe. So I'm not going to ask somebody else what you believe. I'll just ask you.
yeah,
And Congress, you're not going to ask them. News, you're not going to ask them. But you listen to them. But the Congress is giving it you to straight directly to you.
yeah,
News is filtering it from Congress to the news to you. You put a middleman in there, and it's always a problem. And they've capitalized on that. So if you shut it off, right, it basically they'll go away or they will change and actually do news again. If they actually do news again, turn it on. If they don't, just stick with your congressional hearings, and you'll see the truth.
yeah,
Who's afraid of the truth? Just you want the truth. You're not going to get that on Channel 7 or MSNBC or whatever. You're not going to get the truth. No matter how hard they try to be truthful, they're not going to be. They're still going to be like how they say when you talk to one person, they tell them one thing, and
yeah,
that person tells the other person, and they're supposed to say the same thing, and you go down the road. By the end, it's different.
yeah, yeah,
Well, those people are actually trying to tell the same story, but by the 10th person, it's different. And that's sort of like this. If you have honest journalists, we don't really even have that. So you have people who want to tell a different story. Like you can tell them the economy's great, and they're like, yeah. No, the economy's terrible. Whatever. They're going to change it to whatever they want, and that's what the news does. It's not news; it's propaganda. So I would highly recommend. I think that's really the solution: is turn it off. You take away the power of the media to oppress you.
Yeah. No, I mean that's the truth.
Then
I mean, yeah,
watch
I
the
think that's what
congressional
C-SPAN
hearings
is
and
for,
take.
no? It's to watch stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, that for sure makes sense. But I guess just the likelihood of people nowadays, they want it dressed up. They want it to be like a TV show. They want it, I mean, exciting. So that's what MSNBC and Fox
Right.
News and that's what they all do. They dress it up with all the graphics and everything's exciting, and that's what catches people's eyes
Right.
these days.
Congressional hearings are more boring.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes sense. Yeah, that if they want the truth, they got to go there. But most people don't. I was thinking right now, Mike Flynn in that interview with Charlie Kirk was talking about how he's so disappointed that of all registered voters, I think he said that about only 70% vote. Only 70% vote. So he's like disappointed. He says he's talking, basically about this upcoming election, how important it is that he wishes all of them would vote. That's how crucial this upcoming vote. But I was thinking about that number, that even of those 70% that vote, I would think that I would say maybe 30% of them probably don't really follow politics either. They just vote because they know that it's their right, and it's time to vote. Like, let me go vote. But they probably don't follow politics the whole year. They don't know what's really going on. So that to me kind of comes back to what the role of the media could be. It could, it's fine to have a flashy news report and stuff like that, but it's more effective if it at least is reporting the news fairly, and informing both sides of people with different ways of thinking and stuff like that. So that's why I just feel it just really comes back to whoever these people think, if they think that they're running the media, that they need to be held accountable. You know what I mean? Like, they really need to be, forced to tell the truth.
Yeah, I agree. And like, if you shut it off, that's holding them accountable. They're going to lose money. They're going to lose viewership. They're going to have no platform.
Well, it's
And
happening.
and
Yeah.
so yeah,
What's his name? Musk is always posting graphics of showing like their numbers, and it's all across the board. All the major news organizations are losing, newspapers, everything. They're all losing followers and viewers, all of them. And Twitter's going up, so Twitter's becoming like the most reliable source of information right now.
are hungry for the truth.
Yeah, and podcasts
And
and
I'll
stuff
tell
like
you, I'll
that.
look at it like you could look at the congressional hearings, just look at it as news, because it really is. It's the same thing. It's news. Now, when you watch congressional hearings on a topic, you can choose whatever topic and watch at your leisure. Whatever topic you choose, they're going to give you the evidence from both sides, and you draw your conclusion, right?
Yeah, yeah.
When you watch the news, they're going to tell you what to believe. They're going to give you your conclusion. You're not going to make a conclusion. They're going to tell you what your conclusion is. Now, that's a bad thing, and that leads to the end of freedom.
Yeah.
Because people who will lie to you like that, manipulate you like that, are not interested in freedom. They want to take it. If they didn't, they would just tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But congressional hearings, you draw your own conclusion. News draws the conclusion for you.
Yeah, definitely. I was wondering right now, do you ever seen? You ever, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I think that, you want to solve the media problem. I think that's the good solution. Look at congressional hearings as news. Spend the same amount of time. You don't have to do any more time than you watch the news to watch those, and your information will be way more valid, and you'll probably be stunned. You watch congressional hearings, and it's stunning, the evidence they put out there that you'll never see on the news.
I was thinking right now, kind of something that kind of depicts what I'm talking about. Is, you ever seen that movie Idiocracy?
I don't think so.
You got to watch that movie, man. It's funny. They have like a version of it's basically a guy that like they force him to be in an experiment where they hibernate him for like, it was supposed to be for like a year, but something goes wrong, and he ends up being in some pod hibernating for like 1,000 years or something like that. So it's the future, and it shows a version of Fox News, and it's you got to watch it, man. It's pretty funny. And then it shows, yeah, watch it, man, because it's mostly political. Basically, what they're trying to show in the movie is that society just becomes stupid, and they just it's all they're just
Hello?
they become dumber. Oh, you can't hear me, bro?
Yeah, yeah. I'm driving real quick.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. So they show a part they show a hearing like in Congress, I think it is, and what it is in the future. And one side they state their side. Like I think one guy's like on trial or something like that, but they show like both sides have their crowds, and when one side says something, like the crowd is like a WrestleMania, basically. Oh, they just all start yelling, and it's all exciting and crazy and flashy stuff like that, and it kind of
Yeah, yeah.
it kind of reminds me of that's kind of what people are already going towards now. Like they want that, they need this, they sort of, you know what I mean? Like
Well, they have
that's
a
what
choice
catches
to make.
people's eyes and stuff like that.
I mean, people have a choice to make, and that's a good point. You can have flashy tyranny, or you can have boring freedom.
Yeah, nah, for sure, man.
Watch congressional hearings; they may be more boring, but it's going to provide you with your freedom. You watch the news; it's going to be more flashy, but it's going to take your freedom away.
Yeah, yeah.
Hang on, just a second.
Go for it, Dan.
Oh yeah, okay, go ahead.
Well, I mean, so then as far as yeah, so as far as this solution, this topic of the list that I got, yeah, so I get you, bro. Not for sure. If people wanted the truth, you know, if they really want to learn the truth, which is what I'm trying to say is most people don't. Most people don't care. But if they do, yeah, for sure, watching something like C-SPAN and watching the actual congressional hearings and watching these senators and congressmen debate, you know, topics, they'll get it, you know, firsthand. But what
And
most
actually, I got to retract a little something because I've watched a lot of congressional hearings, and they're actually not boring. I mean, they go at it. And when you watch it, you'll see how corrupt the government actually is. And you don't need um, Rachel Maddow or any of these news personalities to tell you what they watch, because that's what they're doing. They're
yeah,
watching congressional hearings, and then they're telling you what they watch from their own view, their own slant, their own manipulation. You can just watch it yourself, but it actually is pretty entertaining. I mean, and it's stunning when you actually see the truth. It's like getting red pilled. You watch congressional hearings.
yeah.
Guarantee you, it's red pill compared to watching the news. The news, it's just propaganda,
Well, I gotta
flat out.
confess, even I'd probably be bored, but no, I'm with you. But yeah, these days people just people have shorter attention spans, so I don't think people will just sit there and watch that, man. So
Well, like I said, it's actually like when you watch the news. A lot of times, what they'll do is they'll have a panel of people, and usually a lot of times they'll have one person from the other side, left or right,
yeah,
and then they get these arguments. That's what congressional hearings are like.
yeah,
It's really simpler in that regard. So it's actually not boring. You would think so. It's boring when the government isn't corrupt. But because of a massive corruption, and if you watch these hearings and you see the evidence come out and how one side's fighting to show the truth and the other side's going crazy trying to just disrupt and stop the hearings and yelling at each other, it's actually probably more entertaining than the news as far as how heated it gets.
yeah,
But the big point here is you're going to get the truth in congressional hearings. They present the evidence. The news is going to tell you what they want you to believe, not what is.
yeah, yeah. And I got you on that, man.
But I gotta get going, dude. I gotta
Yeah,
go to work.
yeah, no, 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 for sure, Dan. So basically, yeah, I think we covered everything we wanted to do today. We got your JFK story. We got some topics. We talked about some current topics, and then we got one of the solutions in, bro. So we're good to go, Dan. So thank you, my
Yeah,
brother.
next time we do one, you pick a topic and you
Yeah,
take the
okay.
lead on.
Yeah,
Because
I'll do
this
some.
one, the JFK thing, was really important to me. That's why I kind of dominated that discussion in the beginning because I did a lot of research on it, and I think it's very important for people to understand where this all began and that's why we're in this situation. And I don't think most people understand that. So it helps clarify.
No, 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 well, for sure. No, well, yeah. I mean, I've always wondered about those two. Basically, yeah, just the Secret Service agent being pulled off, and yeah, the manhole. I guess I never really considered that one too much, but yeah, that makes sense to me.
I
Uh,
didn't even consider it either. I was just watching, like I said, lots of videos, and people would walk right over that manhole up to the grassy knoll, and I'm like, well, I'm looking at the scene. If I could be an assassin, that's where would I want to be? And that logically, that's the best place. So, okay, then I looked at it. Is it a good shot? Yep. Sure enough, they went out there and checked it. It's a good shot. It's closer,
Yeah.
and you got the shot, and it's completely concealed. Has a 100% exit, and behind the fence is a storm drain where the sound would exit. So it would make sense that people would hear a sound behind there because the gunshot at the manhole is going to reverberate out that hole.
Yeah.
So it just makes sense. Whether that's what happened or not, I can't say for certain. Like I said, it doesn't matter though. The government ordered it, and then once they did that, they took over and they've maintained control since.
Yeah, definitely, man. Well, yeah, I'll think of a topic. One that I think I told you about before that I was always interested in was Nixon. I think Watergate was a setup. I think Nixon was forced
Yeah, you
out.
know what? You talked to me about that before years ago, and
Yeah, I got all kinds of.
that,
I had all kinds of information, all that, but I forgot about most of it. It's been over 10 years
yeah,
since I was into that one.
yeah.
But
So if
yeah,
it was a setup, and then why? Yeah, that would be a good topic because your insight on that would like it was really opened my eyes, and I started looking into it, and I was like, wait, he's right. I never even considered that.
yeah, no, it makes sense. It makes sense. Well, hey,
So
well, put it like this: the guy they think that was on the grassy knoll was Howard Howard Hunt. You know who that guy is, right? The CIA agent.
yeah, yeah.
He was one of the burglars that was arrested in Watergate. So I don't know if you knew that.
Rick, telling
Yeah,
you, man, the CIA is a monster.
yeah, and yeah, they did it all sloppy. But all right, next time then, Dan. So then, yeah, good show, my brother. Have
Yeah,
fun
yeah.
at work. We'll talk later, bro. All right, man.